Welcome back to our series on enterprise risk management. In our previous session, we introduced the concept of risk and how it relates to business objectives. To illustrate this concept, we created a revenue growth business objective for the iPhone division of Apple. Today, we're going to build on that by discussing how we set the foundation for managing risk related to this specific objective. The foundation includes three key elements: scope, context, and criteria. The purpose of setting the foundation is to customize the risk management process and enable an effective risk assessment and appropriate risk treatment. So let's get into it. We're going to start with defining the scope. We begin with answering two questions. What are we focusing on, and what risks are most relevant to this objective? In our case, the focus will be on Apple's iPhone division with a clear objective of achieving 3 to 5% revenue growth. We've added additional details to this objective from the previous lesson, and these include enhancing brand loyalty and innovation to make it just a bit more realistic. So, our scope will focus on risks that directly affect iPhone sales, whether that's through product development, supply chain issues, or just shifts in the market, etc. The key here is that we're going to focus on the relevant risk, opposed to trying to boil the whole ocean with an inventory of risks that may be more relevant to other divisions, functional areas, or projects going on at Apple. So when we focus on the right risk, it allows us to allocate resources to treat those risks effectively. Once the scope is set, we then move to understanding the context, which is going to include both the internal and external environments. Context is where we get a clearer picture of the environment Apple operates in, as well as the stakeholders that can influence both risk and opportunities for the iPhone division. According to COSO ERM guidance, we look at things like capital, people, processes, and technology to understand the internal context factors. These factors aren't just potential sources of risk. They can also be key drivers of growth if they're managed well. For example, on the risk side, failing to invest in advancing technology, say in camera or battery life, could hurt the iPhone's position in the smartphone space and negatively impact the revenue performance objective. On the opportunity side, however, by investing in advanced technology like Apple Intelligence or maybe even foldable features, that could open up a new market for Apple and attract new customers, thus positively impacting the revenue performance objective. Now we can shift to the external context factors, which are all the outside forces that could impact this objective. The COSO ERM guidance suggests looking to the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors as potential sources of risk or opportunities. For example, on the risk side, if Apple falls behind in complying with, say, evolving privacy regulations, there could be product delays, fines, or even loss of consumer trust, which may negatively impact our revenue objective. However, by prioritizing and adhering to new data privacy laws, Apple has an opportunity to enhance the iPhone's reputation for security, which could lead to more sales and positively impacting the revenue objective. Now that we've defined the scope and the context, we need to establish risk criteria. Criteria includes the rules that we'll use to assess and prioritize the risk Apple faces in pursuit of this revenue objective. Now, risk criteria are intrinsically linked to an organization's risk appetite. Risk appetite essentially reflects how much risk the organization, or in this case Apple, is willing to take in pursuit of this objective. So here, the risk appetite is going to help Apple find the right balance between pushing for growth and managing the potential risk. Here's an important point. Risk appetite is best articulated through statements aligned with high-level business objectives that in turn align with the organization's strategy, mission, vision, and their core values. So using our example, the risk appetite statement would revolve around relevant risk categories to our objective, and it's also going to consider mission, vision, and core values. So the risk categories would be crafted to ensure the right risks are taken to achieve the growth target, while the core values of protecting, say, reputation and consumer trust remain protected through low risk appetite. So let's break this down a step further. Take the technology and innovation risk category, for example. The risk appetite statement suggests that Apple is willing to accept moderate to high risk in developing Apple Intelligence features because they know it's necessary to stay competitive in the growing AI-led smartphone space. On the other hand, when it comes to the reputational risk, their appetite is very low. Apple won't pursue any innovation if it risks damaging the brand or customer trust. The risk appetite balance between taking risk and protecting the brand establishes the risk criteria needed to guide decisions and allocate resources more effectively. By developing a clear risk appetite and establishing the criteria for each risk category, Apple can pursue the iPhone revenue growth objective by taking calculated risk in areas like technology and market expansion, while also staying cautious in areas that affect compliance and reputation. So to wrap things up, we've covered 3 key components of setting a strong foundation for the risk management process. That's defining the scope, understanding the context, and establishing risk criteria. By setting our scope on the relevant areas, assessing internal and external factors, and then aligning risk appetite with the strategic goals and business objectives, Apple can now enable effective risk assessment and then appropriate risk treatment. So in our next session, we'll take this a step further and explore the risk assessment phase. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Take care.